Welcome to the PrepNet, presented every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Talk2Me's Channel 14. Come join us to discuss everything about prepping and hear what others have done. Water Preparedness, Part 1. Water is one of the most important requirements for life, arguably even more critical than food. A person can survive weeks without food, but only a few days without water. We're going to start talking about water preparedness. We'll cover several important topics that will help you plan for having safe water during an emergency. The goal of this discussion is practical preparedness planning, simple steps anyone can take to ensure they have safe water available. By the end of this discussion, you should understand how to store water, where to find additional water sources, how to recognize unsafe water, and how to filter and purify water so it is safe to drink. As with all of our presentations, this discussion is not meant to be highly technical or highly detailed. The goal is to provide a practical overview and point you toward areas you may want to research further for your own preparedness planning. Topics we will cover: what can cause a water outage? Options for storing water. How much water does a person actually need? How long does stored water last? Where to find water if supplies run low? How to set up a simple rain catch system. How to recognize when water may be contaminated, and how to filter and purify water. So let's get started. What can cause a water outage? Many people assume water outages only happen during large disasters, but they actually occur more often than people think. Common causes include power outages that shut down pumping stations or private well pumps, broken water mains, severe storms or natural disasters, frozen pipes during winter, contamination events that make water unsafe to drink. Even if water continues to flow from the tap, it may not be safe to drink without treatment. You really need to be prepared for these events. Options for storing water. Before choosing containers, remember that each person will need a certain amount of water each day. We'll discuss daily water requirements in the next section. A common preparedness guideline is to store, at a minimum, at least 1 gallon of water per person per day. There are several practical ways to store water at home. Store-bought bottled water is simple and convenient, but can become expensive if storing large quantities. Most bottled water containers are not very strong, so stacking many cases of them can cause crush damage to the bottom ones. Food-grade water containers are designed for long-term storage and come in sizes ranging from a few gallons to 50 gallons or more. Plus, they are usually better constructed and can be stacked higher. Clean 2-liter soda bottles, juice bottles, or any other food-grade bottles can work well for smaller storage. These will need to be placed in strong boxes to be able to be stacked. A tip I just learned about was to use your empty and clean canning jars to store your water. You have to store your empty canning jars anyway, so use that space to also store some of your emergency water. Larger preparedness setups may include water barrels or storage tanks. A common preparedness option is a 55-gallon water barrel. These barrels typically cost around $150 and up, and are about 24 inches in diameter and 36 inches tall. One barrel can store enough water to supply a family of 4 for roughly 2 weeks at the 1 gallon per person per day guideline. Before choosing this option, be aware that water weighs 8 pounds per gallon, so a 55-gallon barrel will weigh 440 pounds, plus the weight of the barrel. I have provided a few links to water containers on Amazon and videos showing how to move these full barrels in the video description of this expanded presentation. Be sure you also have a way to remove the water from the barrel, such as a hand pump, siphon, or spigot at the bottom of the barrel. You can build a simple hand pump using PVC pipe or purchase a food-grade barrel pump designed for water storage containers. Searching online for PVC barrel hand pump will show many inexpensive designs. Check out the information in the video description for links. Most preparedness experts recommend storing at least a 2-week supply if possible. I myself recommend at least a month supply, more if you have the storage space. How much water does a person use per day? In simple terms, 1 gallon per person per day is the bare minimum for survival. 2 to 3 gallons per person per day is a more realistic planning amount when limited sanitation is included. Many people are surprised by how much water they actually use in a day. Water is needed for drinking, cooking, basic hygiene such as brushing teeth and washing hands, minimal cleaning, and basic sanitation. Under normal daily living conditions, the average American uses 80 to 100 gallons of water per day, but most of that is for showers, laundry, and other non-essential uses. During an emergency, people usually reduce their usage dramatically and focus only on essential needs. We have a daily usage limit for our household that includes personal consumption and limited hygiene, as well as a group cooking and cleaning allotment. Each person knows those limits, so there are no surprises on water usage when the emergency hits. The personal allotment can be used for anything, including saving a portion each day for other uses. This gives each person a feeling of control, and as we state all the time, each person's situation is different. How long will stored water last? Commercial bottled water can last a long time if stored properly. Water stored in clean, sealed food-grade containers is commonly recommended to be rotated every 6 to 12 months. When you rotate your water, you don't need to just dump it. Use it for watering plants, your garden, washing your car, or other uses. The biggest threats to stored water are heat, sunlight, and contamination from dirty containers. Water should always be stored in a cool, dark location away from chemicals or fuels. I personally store water in 5 and 7 gallon containers and 55-gallon drums in a cool, dark basement. I have tested the water in these containers after 3 years of storage without any problems, though most preparedness guidance still recommends periodic rotation. A tip: if you open a water container and everything is fine except the water smells or tastes stale, do the following. Pour the water between 2 buckets many times to aerate it. This adds oxygen back into the water. The lack of oxygen in the water is causing the stale taste. There is nothing wrong with the water, but if you are risk-averse, boil the water before drinking. Another way to eliminate the stale taste is to have Kool-Aid, tea, or other drink mixes available. Where to find water if supplies run low? You need to know ahead of time where you will get your replacement water from. If stored water begins to run low, there are several possible sources. Natural sources include rivers, streams, lakes, rainwater, and snow or ice. There are also water sources inside many homes that people often forget about. Examples include water heaters, that's at least 30 gallons per unit, toilet tanks, not the bowl, melted ice from freezers, and liquids from canned fruits or vegetables. Hot tubs or swimming pools, useful for sanitation, not ideal for drinking. Any water from unknown sources should always be treated before drinking or storing. Don't store untreated water, and keep the containers that will have untreated water in them separate from your treated water containers to prevent cross-contamination. It is also important to have a plan for when you will begin replenishing your stored water supply. Start looking for replacement water sources early. For example, some people begin refilling their water supply when they reach half of their stored water, rather than waiting until they are nearly out. Next week, we'll continue talking about water preparedness and cover rain catch systems, how to tell if water may be contaminated, and how to filter and purify water. If you have any questions about what we have discussed here or anything about prepping, send your question to prepnetch14@gmail.com and enter question in the subject line.